Then I can say something like distance. I don't think like how you spell distance. This distance to Johannesburg from, well, let's just say between JHB and Durban, right? In kilometers, right? So that everybody knows. So now let's make a calculation. If I want to say I traveled here, what's the distance to and fro? So one trip, I'm going to Durban from Johannesburg, and then I'm going to Durban from Johannesburg, and I'm going to Johannesburg from Durban, right? So that would be two trips, right? So how would I do that? So how would I calculate this trip? Trip distance. I would say Durban, and I could multiply it by two, right? Because I'm going there twice. I'm taking it two. I'm going there. I'm traveling this distance twice, right? Or two times. Or okay, and let's print that. Print trip distance, right? And if we run it on the terminal, we should let's just clear the terminal. Okay. I say Python. There we go. 672 is 1,200, right? Or you could also do something like plus. You just add them together, right? And then if we run it, get the same thing. Now there is this cool yeah, so you could just do that. And let's leave it back, put it back. So that is yeah, let's leave it like this. All right. So now we have calculated the distance, the trip distance. Now, let's say we have a um our car's economy is something along the lines of it is going to cost for every kilometer you drive, it's going to cost you 50 cents, right? Car economy, I'm going to say that as 50 cents, right? And that's 0.5. It's half a rand, right? So put a comment there. That is going to be for every kilometer that you drive, is going to cost you 50 cents. So that's rands per kilometer, right? So it's going to cost you 0.5 rands for every kilometer. Now, how do you calculate the cost of your trip? So your cost of your trip, let's say your cost of your trip is going to be now what now? What will be the cost of the trip? So we are going to have to multiply our trip distance, this one, this is in kilometers, by this car economy. So cost of trip will be, then we can use our variable, remember? I'll just reference it again. What is it going to be? The trip distance multiplied by our cost of trip, by our car economy. And then we should be able, then we'll be getting our cost of trip. So we just say cost of trip, I replace that. And if I run that again from the terminal this time, Look at that. It costs us 600 rands. All right, but 600 is kind of meaningless. So what happened if you wanted to output it in a way that on the terminal down here, it had something more, some more meaning to it. So we could say something like, I'm teaching you Python strings, an F string. So I'm going to create an F string. All right. So essentially what this F string does is I can put in variables into the string, right? So the value of this variable will now be in a string. And you do that in Python using double quotes. I think it'll work with a single quotes as well. You just have to have an F in front of it. And yeah, it does work. So just have to have an F. That's why it's called an F string. So I said the cost. Right. And so now remember, this is just a string. However, in this place, I'll put in the value of this variable. All right. And as you can see, Python, Visual Studio Code will tell you the type of variable that this is. It's a float. And if we run this, we should have that output on our screen. The cost was 600. See? All right. So now let us do some other calculations before this thing is over. Let's remove that. So that's just a basic program. I wanted to calculate the cost of a trip. I had some values that I had, and I was able to use Python to do that. Very simple, but just to get your appetites wet on what you can do with Python. Let's look at other operations in Python. Let's look at the exponent. Let's call it the exponentiation. Right, so I'm gonna say print. Remember, I'm sending it out to the terminal. So I want to print 2 raised to the power of 3. Remember, that is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I should see 8. Once I run this, there we go. So that's the exponentiation. So how does this work? Let's say if I had another value here, what would happen here? Would it be 2 to the power of 2? Then from there, that results to the power of 3. So what happens actually when you use a multi-line string? So this is a right binding operator. So what it's going to do, it's going to look at it's going to start from the right. So it's going to be 2 to the power of 3, which is 8. It's not going to say 2 to the power of 8, right? So it's going to be 2 right binding and right binding. You can say 2 to the power of 3, and that's 8. Then I'm not going to say 2 to the power of 8, and on the top of my head, can't remember what that is. 256 something? I don't know. 256. Could be wrong, but we'll see. Let's see what it is. And yeah, 256. All right. So yeah, 8 bits. Okay. So that is exponentiation. All right. So what's the next one? Multiplication works just like in mathematics. Now, the one I want to show you is the integer, or let's start with the division. Right. So this is the division number. So if I have print 6 divided by 3, and let's comment that out on top there, I should get 2, right? And I said I'm going to run it by the terminal, so let's do that. I get 2. However, the result of this operator is always going to be a what? A float, okay? What happens if you don't want to work with floats, okay? You can do this. You can do an integer division, so 6, 3. And then we run that, so it's double quotes. And there you go. Okay. Let's look at this. That's the integer division. Let's actually try it with something with a negative number. So I say negative 12 divided by 8. When I run that, what I get? 2. Get negative 2. Okay, that's great. Very good. And then we have modulo. Modulo is essentially just going to get you the remainder of an integer division. Okay, so if I say, what is, okay, I should just use that. If I say print 6 modulo of 3, what is the modulo of this? There's nothing left, so I should get 0, right? I should get 0 at the end of this sequence of thing, because there's no remainder. However, I was to say 4, what should I get? I should get, how many times is 4 going to 2? Goes in 1 time. Remainder, just bring out your terminal again. Remainder, there'll be 2 left. So I should get a 2. Okay, so that is operations with Python. Okay, in the next video, we'll talk about other input-output operations, right? How I can get a user to enter something into the program and use that input and manipulate that input to do some instructions. Okay. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.